I'm Jenna MacRae, the Deputy Director here at Elder Law Advocacy, and I'm here today with Chris Crowson, our HICAP Attorney.
Hello. Hi, Jenna. Hello.
Hi. Thanks for talking to me today, Chris.
Oh, my pleasure.
So, Chris, can you tell me a little bit about what attracted you to working at Elder Law Advocacy?
Well, I liked helping people, and I worked for a year at a private litigation firm that did construction defect litigation. And after a while, I began to realize I wanted to help the people that I was suing because they were the ones that were being victimized by these rather unscrupulous construction companies. And I was like, I don't really like being on the side of the unscrupulous construction company. So I left that job, and then at the USD Law School Placement Office, looking for work, there's an advertisement for, it was Senior Citizens Legal Services at the time, and free service helping seniors. Oh, that sounds more interesting than representing unscrupulous construction defect construction company. So, and once I got here, it's like, oh yeah, this is really nice. You're helping people. You feel like you're really making a difference with some people. Even some of these folks, $100 is a lot of money, and it's the difference between whether they're going to have enough food for the month, and be able to help get them whatever they needed, or help them in any way was just I just really liked it. And I just had my 40th law school reunion. One of the guys I knew, when I told him I worked for a nonprofit providing free legal services, he says, like, I knew you would go into something like that. I couldn't see you as a cutthroat corporation lawyer or litigation attorney. I knew you'd do something helping people. So that's what I liked.
So I know that you've done a lot of different things at Elder Law Advocacy over the past 35 years, but right now you're working in HICAP. So can you tell us what HICAP is and what you do as the HICAP attorney?
HICAP is the Health Insurance Counseling Advocacy Program. It helps people on Medicare or who are about to join Medicare. We have a whole group of volunteer counselors that go out in the community and or see people and explain Medicare, all the rules and regulations. Medicare can be very complicated. They have lots of choices to make, whether you want to go for the original Medicare with fee-for-service, or if you want to go to the Medicare Advantage, which is the HMO system. Plus, there's lots of rules about when you sign up and if you're going to get a penalty. It can be very complicated, and it's very, very intimidating to people. And so our counselors are trained. They know all the rules and all the regulations. They have tons of flyers and information sheets so they can explain to people how Medicare works. And then if there's a problem, then it's sent to me at the HICAP Legal. Medicare, people don't realize this, Medicare has its own court system, the Office of Medicare Hearings and Appeals. Pretty much any decision that Medicare makes can be appealed. And there's a multi-step process to go through, but in the end you can have a hearing before an administrative law judge. And I help people all aspects of the appeals process, plus also just problems that don't really need the appeals process, trying to get the bureaucracy sorted out. Because Medicare deals with Social Security, and sometimes there can be problems. Famous one I have is I was able to resurrect several dead people several years ago, when they suddenly got notices from Medicare that all of their coverage, all of their doctor's visits were being denied because they were dead, and dead people don't need medical services anymore. So, and they came into the office and they were very much still alive, and so we were able to fight our way through the bureaucracy and found in the end that it was a computer glitch, and it was all women. They were all the second wife of a person. The first wife had died, and somehow the computer had switched them up, and so they were declared dead. And which sounds funny, but that all of your doctor's visits, all of your surgery was just denied, saying dead people don't need surgery, don't need doctor's visits. So we got them straightened out, and ever since I've been teasing people that I was able to resurrect the dead, at least only if they're dead for Medicare purposes. So
sounds like that was a big help.
It was.
So you gave us one example there, but what are some of the typical cases that you might see in HICAP?
A lot of cases involve ambulance rides. Many times people's ambulance ride is denied. Medicare has some rather complex laws, regulations about Medicare. We have to have the proper documentation. And if it's not submitted correctly, it can be denied. So it happens quite often, and people are obviously rather upset, but usually that's fairly easy to get turned around. As long as you get the proper medical documentation, you can submit that into the appeals process, and usually the judges will read the documents and will understand. In fact, yes, you did need an ambulance, and many times, what the ambulance technicians write down is not exactly what's really happening. I had one case where the ambulance technician wrote in the notes that they write that the person had a sore shoulder. Well, the person had fallen and broken their shoulder, and that part of the bone was sticking out through the skin. But Medicare said, well, a sore shoulder, you don't need an ambulance for a sore shoulder. So we had to take that up to the judge. We got the ambulance records plus the x-ray reports, the emergency room reports. The judge is like, yeah, I think that's an emergency. I think we need an ambulance for that ride. So
definitely.
So.
Any other types of cases? Do you ever help with like nursing home situations?
Oh, yes, many times. That's also very common. People in a skilled nursing facility, there's lots of regulations about that. Medicare will only cover skilled level of care. If it's custodial level of care, then it's not covered. And Medicare has a rather complex legal definition of what skilled is. And people are like, well, I'm in a skilled nursing facility. Aren't I receiving skilled care? Well, no, not necessarily. So it has to meet the definition that Medicare has, and it can be rather complicated, but that's very common. That is appealed. We have to take that up to have a hearing before a judge. And usually if you get the medical documentation or a letter from the doctor, usually at least the judge will listen to you, and many times they'll turn around because, once again, sometimes the facility, when they send in the records to Medicare, they don't send all the records. They send in partial records, which may not really seem to be showing that the person is as ill as they are. And once you get the full records and the full documentation, you can make the argument that this person really was too ill to be discharged, and with luck, the judge will turn it around and cover it. So
Medicare has an administrative law judge,
correct,
or uses that level. What is the appeal process to get there?
Basically, if you're on Medicare fee-for-service, your provider will submit the service to Medicare, and you receive a denial. It's called a Medicare summary notice. If you're in an HMO program, you get a similar document, a denial. And then you can file an appeal, and then there's always a second level of appeal. It works slightly different if you're on a Medicare Advantage plan or HMO plan or fee-for-service, but there's two levels of appeal, and if you're still denied at the second level of appeal, then you can have a third level of appeal, is to have a hearing before an administrative law judge at the Office of Medicare Hearings and Appeals. And that usually takes not too long. Several years ago, it would take up to a year to get a hearing before a judge, which people said, well, what do I do between now and then? I said, you wait. I said, what if I'm dead? Sorry. It's like, no way to. But that became such a problem, and so many people complained. Now it is usually within a month or two after you file the request for the hearing, you will get a hearing. And the judges are all pretty fair. They're not there to rubber stamp things. They work for Medicare, but they are interested in getting the full facts and making a correct decision. And you have a right with the judge. The person you're talking to is the person that's going to make the decision. At the other levels of appeal, it's you send in a letter some faceless, nameless bureaucrat somewhere who somebody does something and they say no. With the judge, you can talk to the judge at the hearing, explain to them what the problem is, submit documents ahead of time, and say that person, that judge is the one that's going to make the decision. So a lot of people, even if they get denied, they feel good that I presented my argument to the judge. I was able to tell him or her what my problem was and what I wanted, and they felt better about it. So, and yeah, I mean, the judges are very good, and our office can help people make sure we get the proper documentation, which is very important, and make sure it gets to the judge. And then we appear with the person at the hearing. The hearings are by telephone these days, and make the argument to the judge and make sure that the judge is looking at the proper documents and point out the appropriate parts of the documents which in favor of our case.
So after doing this for so many years, do you have any tips for people that might find themselves in this situation?
First thing is to watch the appeal deadline. Medicare has a good appeals process, but there are very strict deadlines of when you can appeal something. So don't put that denial off in the bottom of your mailbox and let it sit there for a while, because some of the appeal deadlines are as quick as 60 days. Some are several months, but so if you get a denial, call HICAP immediately and let us get to work on it, getting the documentation, because we don't want to, people come in and say the day before the hearing date is due, oh, can you help us? Well, no, we can't file an appeal for you, not at this point. You can do it, and then we'll help you afterwards. But yeah, watching the appeals deadlines are very important. Save your documents if you can. Contact the doctor's office or the hospital to get the medical records. Because a lot of these cases, they live and die on the medical records. And if you don't have the records, you're not going to be really having a very good chance. But if you have a good documentation confirming that you did have a broken arm or a broken shoulder, then your chances of getting your ambulance ride paid for are going to be a lot better than if you just say, "Oh, it hurt," but I don't have any documents, Your Honor. So that's probably not gonna run. So get the documents, watch the deadlines, and that's the main thing.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you so much for everything you do for our clients, and thank you for talking to me today.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thanks.